Where will the second tier of NFL free agents land this off season? In this video, I predict the landing spots for the next 50 NFL free agents this free agency, giving you my prediction for their destination. Gronk, spike the like button and let me know in the comment section below which free agents you want your team to sign. Let's go. The Atlanta Falcons cannot be serious about the whole Desmond Ridder experience, right? Like, he is not the guy. I'd rather take a chance on Tyler Huntley, who's basically Marcus Mariota with more potential. He's great off play action. He can move. He can run the quarterback design power run game from his Baltimore experience. And he even made the Pro Bowl. He seems to fit the offense well. I'd give him a chance. Baker Mayfield is the perfect bridge option in a post-Tom Brady world for the Bucs. He's got a pretty strong arm and can get the ball down the field to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. He's a strong personality, a pretty good leader on a team that's not going to be very good, but needs somebody to push them into 2024. Carson Wentz, athletically, is very reminiscent of Trevor Lawrence. He can't move that well anymore, but he's big. He's got a pretty strong arm, and he'd make a very nice backup to Trevor Lawrence if anything were to happen to the Prince. He also, of course, had his most production with Doug Peterson, so Carson Wentz makes sense as a backup in Jacksonville. With Gardner Minshew likely leaving to go elsewhere, I would lean into the quarterback run game if I'm finding a backup for the Philadelphia Eagles. Marcus Mariota makes perfect sense. In 2022, he really ran well for Atlanta, and he can execute the short passing game for the Eagles and get the ball to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith without an issue. Marcus Mariota makes a lot of sense to back up a mobile quarterback like Jalen Hurts. If I'm the Carolina Panthers, I'm bringing back Sam Darnold. He impressed me with how he saw the field last year, with how he was willing to play through his run game and his defense, not turn the football over. He's a high upside backup at this point, a guy that can be a bridge option and win games for you and even compete for a playoff spot, even when nobody thought it would happen. So with a rookie quarterback coming in, Darnold makes a good insurance option. For whatever reason, I just don't see Damian Harris playing elsewhere in 2023. I think he's back with the Patriots on a short-term deal, mostly because he's been getting injured, and I don't feel like teams are willing to invest long-term in that. I also feel Mac Jones has a great relationship with him, both Alabama boys. I think he comes back to New England and forms that pair and duo with Stevenson in that backfield. With the New York Jets likely getting Aaron Rodgers, it would make some sense for Jamal Williams to team back up with A-Rod in New York. Jamal Williams was the heart and soul of the Detroit Lions, and it would be tough to see him go, but I could see the Jets giving him some money to really get that ground game going, along with Breece Hall, who is coming off of an injury. It would make sense to pay an insurance option. Jamal Williams is a great locker room guy, a great leader, and can really help a young team get over the top. Jeff Wilson is just such a great fit for Mike McDaniel's running game, that zone rushing game. Jeff Wilson has experience with the 49ers. Now the Dolphins looked real good in Miami last year. I think they bring him back. With David Montgomery likely moving on from the Chicago Bears, Devin Singletary makes a nice, cheaper alternative. They both remind me of each other. Singletary's great at breaking tackles and could make a nice complement to Khalil Herbert or maybe even a rookie running back. With the current Joe Mixon situation going on and the likeliness that he might be cut, I just don't see Samaje Perine going anywhere. He's not leaving that building. He's too valuable to a current contender with what he can do in the receiving game, how good he is as a pass blocker. He's just too valuable to the Bengals for them to let him leave. The New York Giants could really use a nice power running back to complement Saquon Barkley, especially when he's fatigued late in the fourth quarter. And James Robinson is just the perfect all-around back to complement Saquon. He can catch the ball. He's really tough and physical. He can break tackles. And even though he's gone through some wear and tear, New York would love that guy. The Atlanta Falcons and Arthur Smith seem to love their big receivers. Allen Lazard is a great fit for Atlanta. Some may say that he might go to the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, but Lazard, I think, would make a really nice inside receiver for the Atlanta offense. He can run block really well. He's big. He's deceptively shifty. I think he's a little bit underrated. I just don't see how any team values Darius Slayton the way that the New York Giants do. He was really good when he had to step up last year and really proved a lot of people wrong. He can fly down the field vertically. He wins at the intermediate level quite often, and Daniel Jones has a good rapport with him. I think they allow him to stick around. The LA Chargers could use speed at the wide receiver position. I think Mecole Hardman would be an awesome fit. Not that he's a great receiver or anything, but you're stealing from the Kansas City Chiefs. He could give you some value in terms of knowledge there. And also, he would be a great gadget player that doesn't currently exist for this offense in a way that Tony Pollard was used for the Cowboys inside Kellen Moore's offense. He could do a lot for the Chargers that they don't currently offer. The New Orleans Saints could use some depth at wide receiver, especially guys that can get vertical down the field, and a receiver that has rapport with Derek Carr would not hurt. Nelson Agholor, a bit of a meme, and it didn't work out for New England, but he had his best season when he was connecting with Derek Carr with the Raiders, so I think he goes to the Saints. I just don't see how Jake Brendel, breaking out at 30 years old, is more valuable to another team than he is to the 49ers. I don't see a massive market here, even though he did perform well in 2022. I think he stays with the Niners as the team's center. Frank Reich really wants the Carolina Panthers to be able to run the football and enforce a toughness and attitude in the running game. Bradley Bozeman is the perfect center in order to do that. He had a really nice season for Carolina after they paid him last year. I think he sticks around for another year with the Panthers. Brian Daboll just really likes Joe Feliciano. He's not the best center in the world, but he does offer center guard versatility. He can start in a pinch, and even if he's not going to be the starter this year, he just has great familiarity with the protections and the system of Daboll, and I think he sticks around in New York. The New York Giants could use an upgrade at center or guard. Graham Glasgow can play either one and can start at a high level. Even though he fell into the background in Denver and played more of a rotation role, he's an underrated player that I feel fits the system of the Giants' offensive line extremely well. And even if they bring Feliciano back, he's probably a superior option at guard or center. The Seattle Seahawks could use an upgrade at the guard position after getting rid of Gabe Jackson. Will Hernandez is in his prime right now. He has no ties to the current regime of the Arizona Cardinals and is coming off his best season of his career. He fits the style of play that the Seahawks want to be, and that is tough. I see him going to Seattle. Andrew Wiley is simply one of those players that is more valuable to the Kansas City Chiefs than he is to any other team in the NFL. I see him starting at right tackle once again in 2023. Jermaine Illuminor just fits really well into a Josh McDaniels offensive line, and I see him starting once again at right tackle. I don't think they're going to go with a long-term solution here or pay big money to somebody. They're simply going to bring back Jermaine Illuminor, and they're going to get really good results. If the Kansas City Chiefs do lose Orlando Brown, I think one of the tackles they may take a look at is Donovan Smith. He was really good in 2020 and 2021 after falling off the face of the planet in 2022 as the most penalized player in the NFL. But Andy Reid is one of the savviest offensive line coaches there is in the game, and he could really get the most out of Donovan Smith if Orlando Brown leaves. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have moved on from Donovan Smith, which means that they need a tackle for the short term until they find one long term. Now, they could go to the draft, but one that does fit their system pretty well, coming off a good year and would actually be an upgrade to Donovan Smith, is Cameron Fleming. We've heard that Wirfs may move to left tackle. Fleming would fit in really well at right tackle. Hayden Hurst shocked me with how well he played in Cincinnati. It just felt like he matured at the NFL level last year. He's really athletic, great after the catch, and is a perfect complementary weapon to Chase and Higgins. The New York Giants could add a mature tight end that can do a little bit of everything and can be a nice complementary option who moves the chains. Austin Hooper is that guy. Every third down, he'll come through with a key catch. The Giants will sign a tight end. The Miami Dolphins did not like Mike Gesicki in their offense, and it's because he wasn't a good blocker. He's strictly a receiver. Foster Moreau is almost the opposite. He has upside as a receiver, but he is an excellent blocker. And I could see Miami going all in on that type of player in free agency. Moreau would be the one that really optimizes the most potential within this offense. The 49ers could use a new nickel corner. They really forced Jimmy Ward to play that position after he really was a safety for them for a lot of years. Cam Sutton would be an ideal replacement if Jimmy Ward were to leave. And he is similar to Kwan Williams in the way where he can blitz, he can play zone, he can play a bit of man, he can match up. From Pittsburgh, you know he's smart and good at the line of scrimmage. I think he fits the 49ers defense really well. With the Arizona Cardinals shifting towards more heavy zone coverage in the back end, Jonathan Gannon would be pretty smart to keep Byron Murphy, who struggles sometimes in man coverage, especially on the perimeter. But when you put him in the nickel, he's excellent at covering in zone coverage and would be probably an upgrade to Avonte Maddox, what Gannon had at Philadelphia. The Carolina Panthers could use a proper nickel corner. In years past, they played a lot of safeties like Jeremy Chin at nickel, but with Evero coming to town for Carolina, Troy Hill makes sense. He's very steady. They have a connection from their Rams days. He's not elite, but you know he's consistent at that spot. The New England Patriots are going to make a move for a corner, but I don't really know if it's going to be an elite option. They're going to go with the tier 2 guy. I think it could be Rock Ya-Sin. He did play for the Raiders last year in a very similar scheme. He showed well in man coverage and press man coverage, and he's still pretty young where he could get better in their system. I like this fit for New England. The Chicago Bears could use a perimeter corner, and Emmanuel Mosley does fit everything Matt Eberflus looks for. He's got good length, he's tall, he can play press at the line of scrimmage, and he's actually played exceptionally well when he's been healthy for the 49ers. Originally, I had Ronald Darby going to the Miami Dolphins, but I found out that Jalen Ramsey will be going to the Miami Dolphins, so I'm going to switch my pick here. Ronald Darby to the Cincinnati Bengals makes some sense. They need a number 2 corner on the outside. He's played very well, especially in zone coverage for most of his career. He's just dealt with some injuries as of late. I'd take a 1-year swing on Ronald Darby on the perimeter of the Bengals defense. I don't see Julian Love leaving the New York Giants. I think he's too versatile. He's too beloved in New York for what he can do in the box, deep down the field. He's a great complement to Xavier McKinney, and he really had a good year and became more of a leader for them with the Giants in 2022. I think he sticks around into the future. The Carolina Panthers could definitely utilize an upgrade at the opposite safety spot from Jeremy Chin. Donovan Wilson might be the most underrated safety on the market because he's extremely good both in run defense, where he is elite, and he's also great dropping back into coverage. With Evero running a lot of quarters coverage, it puts a lot of stress on these safeties to be both good in coverage and in the run game. I think Wilson is an ideal fit. Tashaun Gibson used to be a very good player. Had a couple down seasons, and then all of a sudden he was back to being awesome again with the 49ers. I think for that very reason, he's back with San Francisco. He also did say that he kind of just wanted to come back to football and not retire because of Hufanga, so I think he's just coming back. The Los Angeles Rams are not going to have a lot of money to spend, specifically on defense, so they're going to have to take shots at guys that maybe have some upside with pretty high draft capital, but have not worked out in other situations. Nasir Adderley does at least have some scheme familiarity, and he's athletic, and he's still got some upside maybe that's untapped for them to take a look at. The Buffalo Bills, without a doubt, are going to be losing Jordan Poyer, so they're going to have to look at a safety that is better in the box Marcus Epps had his best season for the Philadelphia Eagles last season. He is not the fastest guy, but that has never been an issue for the Buffalo Bills. He's an excellent tackler and a smart player. Seems to fit a Sean McDermott defense. The Buffalo Bills love their rotation interior defensive linemen. Morgan Fox could be their option this year. He was pretty good for the Chargers and the Rams in recent seasons. Buffalo, I feel, will really like Morgan Fox as a guy that can rotate in for Daquan Jones on third down. I feel like the Kansas City Chiefs could utilize an interior pass rusher on this defense next to Chris Jones to take some pressure off of him. I know they like their big bodies. Matt Ioannidis has played in a couple different systems and schemes and still been effective and productive. I think he makes a good fit for the Chiefs. The Los Angeles Rams are going to want to sign some of their key free agents and bring them back home to the Rams' house. Greg Gaines is a really important player for how he can open up space for the rest of those defenders up front, especially Aaron Donald, so I think they sign him up for another couple years. One of the low-key needs for the best defense in football last year is a big D tackle who's a great run stuffer. Javon Kinlaw struggled in that element last year, and without DJ Jones, they really suffered, and you saw that against the Eagles. Sheldon Rankins is a player that's really good all around, but especially versus the run, and could be a perfect complement to Eric Armstead in the middle. DeMeco Ryans is going to want to bring in his former 49er boys, and even though he didn't play for San Francisco last year, he played in Jacksonville. Arden Key is somebody that can impact the game in a multitude of ways. He's a very good pass rusher from the edge or the interior. He's extremely athletic. That allows him to utilize his length and his bend to get to quarterbacks. And he's great on stunts. I think DeMeco can be really creative with how they utilize this player, and that's going to help the entire pass rush be productive. The 49ers are not going to lose multiple defensive ends this offseason. That is just not their MO. I believe they bring back Charles Omenihu, which was kind of their replacement for Arden Key in how they deployed him as a pass rushing specialist on the interior specifically, but he can set the edge on early downs and play on third down or a passing down as a defensive tackle. He's got great versatility, and I think the Niners value that. The Cleveland Browns are going to want to address their defensive line and their edge position, probably with more than one player, and they're going to spread out the money that they would use on Jadeveon Clowney on multiple assets. Dante Fowler makes a lot of sense. I thought he had a really good bounce back year for the Dallas Cowboys in a somewhat similar defensive front and scheme. I feel like Dante Fowler has still upside left in the tank, and he could bring it to the Browns as that complementary pass rushing option to Myles Garrett. Another defensive end that the Cleveland Browns may take a look at is somebody that's very much in the same mold as Jadeveon Clowney and Olivier Vernon, and that's Samson Ebukam of the 49ers. He's more of a run defender than a pass rusher. He's a very good athlete that has like a 3-4-esque kind of outside linebacker type body, but can also play on the line of scrimmage, drop back in coverage. Versatile athlete, but again, more of an edge setter. And then you can bring in a Dante Fowler on a third down to take some reps from him on passing downs, but a very good all-around defensive end. The Indianapolis Colts, without a doubt, are going to lose a marquee linebacker. A great replacement for a lot cheaper would be Denzel Perryman. Perryman might go back to the Raiders, but he fits Gus Bradley's defense perfectly with how he gets downhill and he shoots into the backfield. He's explosive, he's electric as a linebacker, and he played his best football with the Raiders when Gus Bradley was coaching him. The Detroit Lions desperately need a more athletic linebacker who can move in space. Enter Jermaine Pratt, who's one of my favorite underrated players on the market. He's excellent in coverage, one of the best cover linebackers in the game, and he also led the Bengals in run stops this past season. The Cleveland Browns don't mind undersized linebackers as long as they can absolutely fly, and if there is something that Devin Bush can still do, it is run. He may just not be a good fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers style of defense, But luckily for the Browns, they play a much different style, where those linebackers can be undersized as long as they are aggressive and they flow sideline to sideline. With Brian Flores in town for the Minnesota Vikings, they are going to need some sledgehammers at the linebacker position. This is a guy that loves him some Landon Roberts. Zach Cunningham is basically a Landon Roberts on roids. I think that this makes a lot of sense. If the Vikings want to get better against the run, bring in Cunningham. The Dallas Cowboys love adding some veteran depth to the linebacker position. Anthony Barr, they brought in last year, and with Leighton Vander Esch possibly leaving in free agency, it would make some sense to reunite Deion Jones with Dan Quinn. Deion Jones did not play his best last year, but if anyone can get the most out of him, I do feel it's Dan Quinn. Those are my Tier 2, Part 2 NFL free agency predictions. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Don't forget to Gronk spike the like button and subscribe for more NFL free agency analysis just like this. Peace.